This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
Darren Gill, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. Darren Gill from Namaste Technologies.com and doing our typical and usual wonderful weekly talks, just to learn about the space, learn about company updates, learn about you. How's family life as a father to two young ones? How's that? How you adapted? Mine's due in 2 weeks, so I need all the advice I can get.
Beautiful. Well, all the advice you can get is going to be that your first one's going to regress on just about everything. So, right when you think they're sleeping properly at night, they'll stop. And when you think they're eating properly, they'll stop.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
No, we took the brunt of it for a couple of weeks, but she's actually she's warming up to her brother more and more every day. So.
Oh, good, man. Well, that's all fair. It really is interesting because there's so much respect I have really for every hardworking individual on this planet. But once you sort of become a parent, you kind of got this little new club you form, and everyone kind of gets it. You look at each other and you go, yeah, it's not easy, but obviously it's the most love and rewarding thing you can have. Darren, we've become friends off air and stuff, so I see how hard you're working with Namaste Technologies, but also as a new dad to two. We were born very close to one another. And, so it never gets easier is essentially what you're saying.
No, definitely not. And your point's very valid because I used to be one of those guys that traveled a lot, and you'd look at people with screaming kids and be like, God, you can't make that thing quiet. And now that you have your own, you really get a new appreciation for how difficult it is.
Oh, you're way more empathetic, and you're definitely you not only learn a way to drown out your own kids' noise, but other kids too. Whereas before, you let it bother you, right?
Exactly.
Oh, that's too funny. So let's get first talk about NamasteTechnologies.com and always advancements going on within the company. Weekly and stuff. What you're working on this week?
Well, this week we finally confirmed that Manny Warren will be our permanent CEO going forward. So I think that's a huge milestone for the company, given some of what's gone on over the last few months, where, we now have clear leadership and direction going forward. I think everybody recognizes the fantastic job that Manny's done of getting us through the turbulent times. And I'm glad, as is the rest of the management team and the board, to see him be rewarded with the permanent spot.
Oh, great. Well, that's very good news. And, of course, we've met Manny once on the program, and we're such a knowledgeable guy. Really technologically sound, isn't he? He's a really brilliant guy.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. He's got a lot of technical depth. And I think for a company where, e-coms and technology and AI and user experience are kind of the bread and butter, he's definitely a great choice to lead the organization forward.
Is there ever thoughts within NamasteTechnologies.com and Namaste Technologies, obviously dealing heavily within the cannabis space and all the sort of the new rules coming around the cannabis space, to sort of expand your marketplace beyond that kind of realm?
So one of the things that we're doing is not just focusing on the flower, but focusing on accessories, on CBD, on things like pet food that we had a press release, and I think you and I chatted a little bit about. We're looking at things like topical creams, lotions. So we're really trying to become the one-stop shop marketplace.
And you have chocolates too, right?
And we definitely have chocolates as well. So those will be coming onto the site as soon as they're legalized and ready to go. Our facility is probably one of the furthest ahead. We own 49% of a Calgary-based producer called Chocolat. And, our evidence package is submitted. We're waiting for Health Canada to go through the process. So it's everything seems to be trending in the right direction.
That's really interesting on a very business level. What is that process to apply for the new edibles and the new law of October 17th that's passing, a year to the date where we were federally legal for dried flower? What is sort of that process to get you products on the shelves?
So the process has evolved a little bit, and one of the new changes that Health Canada brought forward this year was having to actually have your facility completely built out and ready to go. And so one of the things that we were fortunate enough to be able to capitalize on was the facility we wound up acquiring actually had existing food production going on. So a lot of the facility was compliant from a food safe perspective and from a build-out perspective, where all we needed to do was really add in the layered bits of cannabis security cameras, card readers, make sure that the workflows within the space don't cause cross-contamination of product from a cannabis to a non-cannabis perspective. And then you basically go through and you submit what's called an evidence package, which basically is a full videotape tour of your facility, including all the supporting stuff, that you've got cameras at all the right doors, that all the doors are working, and and then basically once all that's submitted, you're on a waiting list for an inspection.
Now, and I'm not trying to act silly here, but I'm sort of really trying to figure it out. Is there then like a government official that tries a product and sort of reports back on it as well? Like, do they get sampled?
No.
Okay.
That might not be a bad idea for some of the folks that I'm sure have gone through these facilities and aren't very familiar with them. But no, you don't provide samples. What they're really checking for is compliance with, not only your own stated policies, but the federal legislated policies as well. So they'll go through, do a complete audit of your process, your books, and make sure that everything's in order.
So I can't call up the government and ask them for a new creation, a new job, where I can be the sampler of all these people, much like your company applying for products to get into, for available for selling, and I'm the sampler for all of them. What a job that would be!
That would be the most interesting government call center in the world. I guarantee you'd have a much different experience than calling the CRA.
Yeah, it would be pretty special, that's for sure. So good news, and you get sort of reports back on kind of where you feel your chances are of allowing these products to be sold.
Yeah, no, a lot of the products, there's published guidelines around edibles and concentrates and kind of parameters you have to work with in terms of dosage and ingredients and so on. But, a big part of the actual inspection activity isn't so much focused around the food because or the cannabis itself, because that has a separate process where you actually have to go get a compliance certificate from a testing lab that says, yes, you meet all the said requirements. What they're really focused on is, checking your facility, making sure that the product you're using is compliant, that the processes you're using are going to lead to a safe product at the end, that, the processes you're using for packaging and so on, and the labels you're putting on there are all compliant to the Health Canada Act.
Well, good little knowledge there, and I guess good. A lot of people sort of always inquire about how to get in the space, but there's definitely so much going on, isn't there? In terms of it's not just producing. There's so much compliance within Health Canada that I can only imagine how taxing that is for a company. It's the waiting, the lawyers, the compliant officials. It's got to be kind of very stressful.
No, it definitely is, and I think unfortunately our industry has been tagged with a few bad events over the last few months, where we've had some LPs and industry folks caught not following the process, and that obviously leads to a dark cloud that winds up falling over the industry as a whole. But I think for the most part, you'll notice a lot of folks really do put their pride and heart and joy into making sure that the product they're putting forward is the best it can be. And, even if folks have an opinion about the regulations, as I do, that, we still respect them and follow them.
Darren, I know you don't have a ton of time today. What's going on? Are you in Toronto, or are you going to be in there for MJ Business coming up in about a week here?
I'm actually thinking of making the trip out for MJ Biz, so I'll likely be out there.
You'll be back in Toronto?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so why don't we get you in studio then, and next week or during that week that you're in town? Absolutely, would love that. And I guess my last thing is, I think you were on a panel with one of other, with a client of ours, Lance Lambert from bovidainc.com. Did you meet him yesterday? No. That panel is actually coming up at the Vancouver International Cannabis Business Conference, and we'll likely be doing that on the 16th of September. Oh, not for a while from now. Sorry, I must have misread my notes. Lance is a great guy, really knowledgeable. I always thought you guys should meet, actually. Just so knowledgeable within the space, providing us so much education. I know you don't have a ton of time, but any quick announcements you'd like to make? No, I mean, we're continuing to trek forward. I think, with having some clear direction and leadership now, we'll hopefully be able to pick up the pace on communication and give folks a little more sense of, what's going to go on in the future. And I'll make sure we get Manny back on here as well to be able to present a little bit of his vision. Yes, please. We'd love to hear it. In a really interesting time right now. A lot of people really kind of anxiously awaiting October 17th. And I know that, we thought maybe the sort of the dried flowered sold well, and you heard some of the success there, and really all predictors and all experts within the industry think this is sort of the evolution of it, and the one that's really going to blow the smoking aspect of it out of the water. So it's going to be a really interesting time, and I think there's going to be a lot of education that has to be had in terms of dosages, in terms of what products are right, what products are wrong, and that's why we're doing this all the very legal way, by educating you, by doing it on the legal manner. You don't avoid the black market. You don't know what you're getting, and this is really good for all. And a lot of people don't like paying taxes on this stuff, but let's be honest, that giving back and creating jobs is all good to keep this whole system moving along, the system being our great country in Canada, and Namaste Technologies being a leader in the space, and also employing a lot of different people as we continue to grow. Thank you so much, Darren, for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Todd.
Okay, Darren Gill, NamasteTechnologies.com. Give him a follow at Namaste. Darren.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.